Long before empires rose in stone, this land was only forest. Rivers cut through limestone, and rain fell in rhythms the people would learn to read like a language. Here, in the shadow of the canopy, small communities cleared the first ground. They planted maize, beans, and squash in the thin tropical soil, coaxing a living from land that gave freely only to those patient enough to understand it. They watched the stars circle overhead, night after night, season after season, and slowly, without knowing it, they laid the first stones of a civilization that would outlast them by more than 1,000 years. By the time the plazas rose above the tree line, the Maya world had become something extraordinary. Cities like Tikal, Calakmul, and Copan commanded trade routes stretching hundreds of miles, moving jade, obsidian, feathers, and cacao between kingdoms that rarely saw peace for long. Pyramids climbed toward the sky, not as monuments to vanity, but as instruments, calendars carved in stone, built to track the movement of Venus, the turning of seasons, the rise and fall of kings whose names were meant to endure forever. But beneath the grandeur of the temples was an ordinary world, easy to overlook. Farmers traded maize for cacao beans, which were valuable enough to function as currency. Potters shaped clay into vessels painted with scenes of gods, rulers, and mythic battles. Children learned to read glyphs their grandparents had carved, passing down knowledge the way any family passes down a trade. Life here was not a myth waiting to be excavated. It was markets, meal times, and morning light, the quiet architecture of a functioning society, largely indistinguishable in its rhythms from any other. What the Maya built has outlived their spoken language, their kings, and even their cities. Their glyphs, carved into limestone with extraordinary precision, recorded history in a way few civilizations of their era could match. Every wall was a page. Every temple was a library written in stone, and one that scholars spent centuries failing to read, and only fully began to decipher within living memory. The architecture itself was mathematics made visible. Staircases aligned to solstices, temples angled to catch the sun on a single sacred day each year. For the Maya, the sky was not distant. It was a map, and it was sacred. Priests tracked the sun, the moon, and Venus with an accuracy that rivaled, and in some calculations surpassed, their European contemporaries centuries later. Time itself was cyclical, layered, woven into ritual rather than simply counted. To understand the calendar was to understand the will of the gods, and to misread it was to invite disorder into a world that depended on cosmic balance to function. Yet the Maya world was never unified, and it never claimed to be. It was a constellation of rival city-states, bound by shared language and culture, but divided by ambition, dynasty, and old grievances. Alliances formed in one generation and broke in the next. Wars were fought not for territorial conquest alone, but for captives, for tribute, and for the prestige that kept a ruling family's name carved into stone for another 100 years. Diplomacy and warfare moved in the same breath. And then, across the 9th century, something changed, quietly, and then all at once. One by one, the great cities fell silent. Construction stopped mid-project. Monuments went uncarved. Population scattered into smaller settlements or vanished from the archaeological record entirely. Historians still debate why. Prolonged drought, chronic warfare, or the simple strain of feeding cities that had outgrown the land beneath them. Perhaps it was all of these at once, compounding until the system could no longer hold itself together. The jungle, patient as it had always been, began to reclaim what had taken centuries to build. But the Maya did not vanish, whatever the ruins might suggest. Their descendants still speak Mayan languages today across Mexico, Guatemala, and Belize. Millions of people carrying forward a lineage far older than most nations on Earth. Their glyphs, once dismissed as decorative or unreadable, have been slowly and painstakingly deciphered, giving voice back to a civilization the jungle nearly swallowed whole. What remains in stone is not an ending. It is a signature, left deliberately, waiting patiently for someone willing to read it.